Good afternoon, everybody. This is John Doss with InfoStrat, and I have with me today Nancy Kuppich, who is one of our senior consultants. And our plan today is to talk about the Microsoft Dynamics 365 for Project Services Automation. Our goal for today's webinar is to go through and talk about how Project Services Automation complements Microsoft Project, how you'll be able to provide end-to-end project management to your clients. You'll also learn about coordinating tasks, resources, and schedules, and hopefully be able to deliver your projects on time and on schedule. We'll also talk about how it integrates with the other parts of the Microsoft Dynamics 365 family. Before we jump into the actual webinar itself, I did want to give you a little background on InfoStrat. And also, we will be having all of our attendees in silent mode for the presentation. But if you do want to ask questions, we'll be monitoring the question box on the GoToMeeting screen. As well as one other housekeeping item, we are recording this for future purposes. With that said, just a little background on InfoStrat. Our company was founded 30 years ago, founded by Jim Townsend, who's written several books on software development and also is a very active collaborator on the area of software development. We've been a Microsoft partner since the early 90s timeframe, and currently are a Microsoft Silver partner with specialties in Microsoft SharePoint and Dynamics. Nancy, you want to advance to the next? So I just want to give you context for where the Microsoft Dynamics 365 family fits. Everybody is familiar with the Office suite on the desktop, and Microsoft is moving to what they're calling the intelligent cloud and the intelligent edge. So moving your desktop capabilities into the cloud, and then also on the back end, being able to automate different lines of business functions, starting from the beginning of a sales process with Dynamics 365 for sales to either customer service and operations modules for keeping track of finances, or on the operations side also looking at project services automation is where we're going to focus today. But there are also other components that manage the field services components if you're dispatching teams, as well as they are teaming with Adobe to provide marketing capabilities and integrating that into the Dynamics 365 suite. Other capabilities that they are building out in the cloud include Power BI for doing data visualization across multiple platforms, as well as their intelligence suite, Cortana. And all this capability is being hosted up in Azure so that you have easy access from any location wherever you are. At this point, Nancy, I'd like to hand it over to you to talk about, start talking about the project service automation component of Dynamics 365.
Super. Thank you very much, John. Can you guys hear me okay? Yep. Okay. So today, what I'd like to do is talk a little bit about why project service automation and what it is. And again, to reiterate what John said, is this is one Microsoft. The product is integrated and optimized to work within the Dynamics 365 solution. It's an out-of-the-box solution. It works when you install it. You can use it through just simple configuration. And it also lets you collaborate between your sales, delivery, and operations team, as well as your customers through portals for Microsoft Dynamics 365. And then finally, you can adapt and improve just through simple configurations and iterative processes going forward. All right, so today with my demonstration, what I'm going to do is I'll walk through a series of personas, different folks that can be using project service automation. So from a practice demand director who's the head of your project management office, an account manager in your sales team, project managers, resource managers, and then your consultants or team members who will be doing the work, and your end customers. Demonstration today, I will be talking about a company who installs network equipment. And so there's a combination of activities that this organization does. The organization actually sells products, which are these network routers and other items that enable the network to work a little bit more efficiently. They also sell service agreements, which ultimately could be integrated in with project management and your field service management applications, which is another product from Microsoft. And they do consulting and analysis services. So I'll be highlighting a bunch of these different areas throughout this demonstration today. Okay. All right, and with this, what I'd like to do is move over to Microsoft Dynamics itself and walk you through the Dynamics 365 application and show you how it works. As I'm pulling up these screens, I would like to point out that we do have the ability to ask questions. So if you're looking at your GoToWebinar screen, there is a spot where you can put questions in, or you can send me a chat. I'll keep an eye on those, and so if you've got questions, I'll be able to answer those as we're going forward. All right, so the first place that I would like to start today would be in the dashboards of project service automation and the Dynamics 365 application. If you're familiar with the Dynamics 365 application itself, you're very familiar with the dashboards. The dashboards are very configurable. You can configure them by different areas, whether it's by a module, whether it's by a specific security role, or different types of data, different organizations, teams, and users. You can also create your own personalized dashboards. You can filter your data. With this example here, I've got current month versus prior month's revenue, and I can just go through and through just a simple click and a simple configuration, I can go through and see different items that I've got set up within my filters themselves. I can also pop this screen out so I can look a little bit closer, and I can drill into my data or change the format of my data. So there's lots of flexibility within these dashboards. And again, this is just an example, but you are welcome to ask questions, and you know, we can go back and review these a little bit later if you'd like a one-on-one demo. All right, so what I want to do in the background, let's see, in the background is talk a little bit about how project service is set up. And the most important area that we need to focus on would be our organizational units. Organizational units actually give you, organizational units actually give you the ability to So, John, I'm going to ask you a quick question. Can you see my CRM, because I'm still look like I'm paused on the PowerPoint.
I see the project service window that you have up now.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. I was looking and it looked like
it
must be my
delay, maybe because of the internet delay, but yep.
Okay. Yeah, my GoToWebinar is a little bit delayed here. Okay, so going into project service in the organizational unit. So within an organizational unit, and I've got a multi-organization here. So I'm showing an international view. So I've got several different companies or several different organizations set up. But the way to think about this is it's very hierarchical. So if you're within the United States and you've got operations that are at a corporate level, and maybe you have different price lists per region or different business organizations, you can actually create these organizational units to start segmenting your data. Here I'm using Fabricam US, so I'm US based, and I'm going to show you how my cost price lists work. So I've got US cost rates, And when I'm able to drill in, what I'll be able to show you is how I've got my costing set up. Costing is set up through services and offerings that I have, as well as products and other products and services and discounts based at the corporate level. So we can, drill down into that information and see the additional details. All right, and give it just a second while I refresh my screen. All right. Okay, there we go. So this is a pretty important screen that we have is this product screen, the price list screen, because it really does drive at the highest level your pricing. Now, the nice part about this is we've got at the highest level, we've got our organization unit pricing, and you can see I've got prices at my role level. So if I've got consultants and they're billing out at different prices, if I've got categories for expenses, if I've got consultants or technicians that are traveling, I can actually set up how I'm going to be tracking their out-of-pocket expenses. And then finally, if I've got inventory or products that I'm selling, I can actually set up the prices for those items right here. And this is what will default in. When your salespeople go out to sell a new opportunity, we can actually start refining and filtering those price lists a little bit deeper so we can make them customer specific or offering specific if you're doing specific marketing. So what we'll do now is we're going to walk over and we're going to take a look at our opportunities. So just like Microsoft Dynamics out of the box with the sales functionality, we're able to have leads and contacts and accounts. And we're able to do a sales opportunity. So as I'm selling projects, I'm actually able to lay that baseline of the project down through the sales opportunity process. So I've already pre-positioned a new opportunity. It's called New Network Opportunity. And my customer is the United States Air Force. And my contact is Colonel Robert Williams. And so this is an integration project that I'm working on. Now, a couple things about this form that you'll see. You'll see the relationship assistant floated in a card. So anytime I have any interactions, me or my team, within the account or the contact, it actually gets tracked against the record. So I've got a dashboard right at my eyes so I can see what's happening. So when a new opportunity is built or if there was a case that was posted with service, we're able to track all that. I've got my stakeholders, sales team, and competitors. So very similar to the Microsoft Dynamics Salesforce automation processes that you see. Now you'll see I do have my account and my product price list, which we were talking about just a minute ago. And so I created a price list based on negotiations and past history. So this price list looks a little bit different than what I'd shown you from the default US price list. So you can see I've got role prices, and these are all US-based folks. I've got my hourly rates, what their roles are, and some description, and I can actually drill down into those. So I'll just take a quick look at my engineer and show you how that looks as well. So this is the price. This is not the cost. The cost is actually tracked as well when we start setting up our resources. And as you perform your, able to take your prices versus your costs to start determining what your net margin is and your gross income and all the other reporting items that you're looking to take advantage of. All right, so I just switch back to my price list at the price level. So you can see again, this agreement, historically, we've only tracked mileage and per diem, so we've got that set up as well. And then finally, I've got my price list items itself. So those are the products that I can be selling. And I've got these pre-set up. I've linked them into this price list because I knew that the customer would be using it. And I've got negotiated or, pre-positioned price rates here, so you can see. So let's go ahead and I'm going to drill into just a product real quick and show you how that's managed as well. Okay. So within my product, yeah, I've got my product item itself. If we can drill in a little bit further, I can start storing some technical information and some background, what kind of units I'm selling, if I've got a discount list I'm going to be applying, what my currency rate is, and if there's any rounding. So this gives you a lot of flexibility within pricing and price lists in your product management. Okay. All right, so that kind of gives you an overview of the price lists. And then going back to my form again from my price list form, I will show you a couple other items, and then we will roll right into setting up a quote and making a project. Okay. So you can see here across the very top of the screen, we do have what we call our business process. So that will walk us through, as we're going through, and you'll see this. I'll keep these closed later on, but if our purchase process is unknown, we can identify who the decision maker is. As we're going through these processes, it actually steps us through the different processes that we'll need. So if we want to work this way, this is great, because I know salespeople get very busy and they'll forget required or business recommended fields. So these business processes really help them a lot. So what I'll do is I've got a couple different ways I can get to my quotes. I've got a couple draft quotes set up here, but I'll just select one of my my quotes from my business process, and you'll see I've jumped to the next stage in my sales process here. So I'm in the process of qualifying, but I'm going to take and close this right now just to get a little bit more screen visibility so we can talk a little bit better. Okay, so Microsoft D365 has actually created the quote. I've moved it from my sales opportunity. I can track revisions as I'm going forward through the sales process, and I can start, excuse me, I can start configuring and making changes as we go through and as we're going through and quoting. One of the most important things I think that you can see here is I've got my products. So these products were driven through that price list that was originally created for that customer. It's auto-populated, but as we're negotiating, we can actually lower our prices. We can change our quantities around, so on and so forth, and it'll automatically recalculate. So you're going forward. So we can pull over our consulting agreements, our consulting projects, and then if we're selling products along the lines as well, we can manage those. All right, so that's it with the quote. As I'm wrapping up and I'm going through through my negotiations, I can actually quote, and what will happen is that will pull over and I'll be able to start creating my project once the quote has been marked for win. I will talk a little bit about that in a future webinar when we talk about Salesforce and how we manage our sales. So assuming that the quote has been won and everything's negotiated, we can start going through and start building out our project. So we've made an estimate. We've gone through the process of how we're going to be doing our work. So we've got a project here. So there's 3 ways that we can create a project. One, just as I just spoke through, is from quote. So activating the quote, winning it, and then we can create a project. Another way that we can actually create our quote is through our integration with Microsoft Project. So let me pull up Project. Okay. And I will pull that over. Can you see Project, John?
Yep, just had to unmute.
Okay. Okay. No problem. I just want to make sure because, like I said, my display settings are kind of they're paused, so I'm not able to see what I'm projecting. Okay, so within the Microsoft project, there is a project add-in for project service automation, so it works with project. What we can do is we can create a project a couple different ways, again, through a quote, or I can actually publish this and I can create a new project right on the fly. And the nice part about this is it will take and push my project out to the PSA application, and it stays linked. So my team can actually work within Microsoft Project. They can make changes to timelines. They can make changes to the resources. They can, add folks that they need to the different projects. They'll save it and they publish it, and they're going to push it up into the PSA application. Super nice way to actually create a project because it gives you the efficiency of creating these projects. Okay. All right, another way that we can create a project is from a template. So if I have templates, I've got a project that I do regularly, for instance, installing 10 network bridges. I know that I've got very specific processes that I need to go through. I can actually grab my template. I can create a new project. And I can default in my work schedules and my calendar. So if I've got business calendars that are different per different areas, I can create those. And as soon as I save it, what will happen is this project product template will actually pull in the work breakdown solution, and it'll automatically populate some information for me. Okay.
So Nancy,
are there
still seeing the project view.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
There you go. Now you're back at PS.
There we go. Oh, okay. Super. Thank you. Okay. So what I did is I've created another project based on the template, and again, the templates actually drive in the information, so you can populate. And again, you can see the different bits and pieces of information that'll be pulled in, just defaulting in. So you can see I've got generic resources here on the team, and then I've got the ability to track some status as well. Okay. Or you can create a project from scratch. What I'd like to do is show you a little bit about this project and show you the work breakdown structure and some of the other nice parts that get pulled in when you're creating these projects from the Microsoft project, from the Microsoft project import. All right, so let's just give it a minute while it's refreshing. So here's an example of the work breakdown structure. This was imported from Microsoft Project. We can actually do a lot of the baseline Microsoft Project activities within PSA itself. So your project managers can work a couple different ways as they're managing the project, again, through the integrated Microsoft Project application, or they can work within PSA, and they can do things like, change start dates and update things, add statuses. They're able to, search for resources and add resources to their projects. We'll show that to you in just a second. We've got other things. We've got project estimates. You've got your actuals, resource requirements, any documentations, and then information about project managers if you want them included in here as well. Okay. All right, so let's talk a little bit about the next steps. So after after you've gone through, you've qualified your opportunity, you've built out your quote, you've closed your deal, then you start building out your project itself based on templates and conversations that you've had with your customer. The next step is what we call a contract. And a contract is pretty important. It is your statement of work. So that what that does is, let's get back here to my project. What the contract does is it actually lays out the next steps and all the items that we're going to be doing within the project itself. So although it's called project contract, you can think of it as a statement of work. So what we can do is as we're working through, we convert this project to our contract. And I'm going to go ahead and open up a contract just to show you how this works as well. There we go. So as you see, as the screen is painting, what this statement of work does is it takes the amount that you've contracted or that the customer has budgeted, and then you can start building out your specific details for the project. So is it contracted amount? What are the different project line items that we have? Recommended activities? Do we have required activities based on our templates? How often do we want to invoice? When are we going to start billing? And what the customer budget is. We can also make a determination, do you want to include time and expenses and fees there? And your billing methods. How do you want to bill? So if you want to bill, regular intervals at a fixed price, recurring prices, cost plus, markup, lots of different ways to do this. Okay. So this will give you, and we can also manage our costs from this perspective as well. Oops, I just bounced myself out. I will take a step back real quick to my project. So as we're building out our project contract and our statement of work, what we also want to do is start assigning resources. And this is the secret sauce of PSA, is the unified scheduling engine. The unified scheduling engine has got a couple different capabilities, and it lets you schedule what resources. And so resources can be people, but they can also be pieces of equipment or rooms or leasing. A few weeks ago, I was speaking to a customer, and they actually lease out special equipment that go along with their technicians as they're doing an installation project. I've got field service customers also that are using field service. So if you've got a support agreement, after you've done the implementation, maybe you want to inspect your network equipment each month, but you need a specific lift. So you can actually schedule a work order, you can schedule your resources and that special equipment using the same unified scheduling engine that you're going to see in just a moment. All right, so as I'm going through and I'm working through my project itself, I'm going to go back and I'm going to look at my team, and I can see that I've got generic resources here. And so I know that I need to assign resources to this project, more so than just a generic resource. So a couple ways that we can assign people or items to this project is I can go in and I could do a couple different approaches. First of all is I could submit a request to my resource manager. Okay, so I really need an engineer for this. And so what I've done is I've created this resource request. So it'll go over into a queue where your resource manager will be working. When we get to unified scheduling, I'll show you how that works and how you can actually assign resources based on requests. So these requests, it's an automated process, so you can go through. Another way that we can assign resources is through a hard booking. And as after my screen refreshes, there we go. I can actually go in and I can actually go in with my resource and actually go in and select my specific resource. So let me go ahead and do that. I'm going to bounce back to my project and open it up again because I bounced myself out. Okay. And I'll open my project again. And I can do a hard booking. So what a hard booking does is it takes a specific position on my project, and I can actually manually override. So right here, I'll pick out my generic resource, and I am going to select a team member for this project versus just the resource. So what that will do is it's going to take into consideration the requirements that I've put, the skill sets, any certifications that this, and it's going to let me override that because maybe I know that the client has really been working with a specific person, and so I can go in and I can select that person and narrow it down. So you can see I just went in, I'm looking for an operations analyst, and the system said, nope, no luck here. So what I will do is I'm going to just take and clear out some of my selection criteria, and I'll pull you over to the resource board so we can start doing searches and start finding our resources for this project. Okay. All right, it's being, okay. And it's because I don't have resources within a time period. So let me walk you through a little bit about this search engine. So you can see the schedule assistant filter lets me look for people that are available for 16 hours. What are the dates that I want to search for? And because I had it so narrow, it was not letting me search. So I'll put it out for a year. And then I can start drilling down on the different elements that I've got set up within my resources. So things like skill sets, characterizations, again, certifications. Are there preferred resources or restricted resources, people that we can't assign to a specific customer? Are they on teams? Are they located in specific areas? So on and so forth. So it actually lets you go down and filter into that data. And what I'll do is I'm going to pull up my, there we go. I'm going to pull up my schedule board and show you how this filtering works. So it's kind of interesting because I've got all my resources here, just based on availability. You can see if they're overscheduled. We've got different colors that highlight different activities. So if they're overscheduled, if they've got hard commits, if they got soft commits, if they're scheduled right exactly the way they need to be scheduled, the resource board. The schedule board lets you do that. So now I'm going to switch over to being a resource manager. And again, I'm going to show you the filters. Let's see, expand panel. I'll show you the filters that we were just looking at a little bit ago. So I know that, for my statement of work or my contract, I need a project manager. So what I'll do is I'm going to look for a user. And I'm going to look for someone who is a project manager within my roles. And it's going to let me start narrowing down my search. search here. And you can see John Doss is the only person that's available right now. So we could actually take and schedule him, get him on the books for the resourcing, and get him hard committed to the project. Also, as I've been filtering down, you can see that I've got other open requirements for other people. So if I were a resource manager, I could actually start working through my list of requests for projects, for project and project resources here. So easily taking and assigning my people to a project and vice versa. So that way we can get them assigned up, and just clicking and dragging the requirements to the person, and then I can take and book them here. So I can see I've got a soft commit, or I can make it a hard commit. Also, depending on how your business is operating and how your business is set up, we can do project views as well. So I can narrow it down to projects, to specific types of projects, to specific types of regions. And again, we can see just based on my legend down here, what different people are doing and where, how they're scheduled, what they're looking like. The individual resources have work hours and work requirements, so we can get that set up as well. I'm going to take and pause for a second as we're going through. So once our resources are scheduled and they're set up on our projects, and we've kicked off our project, as your resources are working, they're actually going to be able to do time entry in several different ways. One way is to take advantage of the Project Resource Hub, where we can actually go in and we can record our time through a portal, versus having them have to log into Dynamics 365. So what the portal does is it lets your end users log in, track their time, track their expenses, get any information that they need, and then we can take and commit the information. So right now I'm working as a temporary project manager. I've got 3 hours. Here's the project that I'm working on, what the tasks are, and these tasks are based on my work breakdown structure. So I can actually go in there, or if there's additional tasks, we can add those in as well. And then we can put notes in that can either be included with the invoices and through your billing and time tracking, and they can either be internal or external. So that's one way, is through the portal. Another way that we can enter our time is actually through our time entry screen. So here that is, and it is a little bit more of a calendar look. So this is kind of nice because once you get booked, once you're booked and you've got time scheduled, and so I'm scheduled as a project manager, I can actually add time as I'm going forward, and I can track it right in my calendar, and my calendar can synchronize back to my Outlook, so I can actually see what's going on, through the different steps. I've got some dashboards. Again, dashboards are highly configurable, and we're able to see those. I'm able to see those with, excuse me, with my individual setup that I've got. And then the very last way is entering time through your mobile device, which is also very interesting, and it's fairly flexible for your end users. Okay, so that's time and expense entry. We're nearing the end of our time today, and I do want to just wrap up and talk a little bit about invoicing, and then some of the reporting that we can do. And then finally, open it up for any questions that we have as well. So where we went today. So we talked a little bit about dashboards and how Microsoft Dynamics Project Service Automation dashboards can work and can be can support your business processes. We've touched on the sales opportunities and quotes process, converting those over into a project and then developing a statement of work where we can add resources to the project, conducting the project, either managing it through Microsoft Dynamics, project service automation through the work breakdown structures where you're recording your time and your activities, or you can use the Microsoft project integration where you can add that in and then synchronize that back up to your project itself. As you're going forward, we can do our billing, and billing can be set up through billing milestones where you are going to go through and you can do set amounts, you can do actual amounts, or you could do cost plus. And those invoices then create a journal, which you're able to import into your financial system with a general ledger journal entry. With that, I think we're nearing the end of our time, and I'd like to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions.
So I don't see any yet. For those attendees, if you go to the GoToMeeting panel, you can drop down, type in questions, or in the chat box.
Okay.
Well, so I didn't see any questions come in, Nancy. So I just wanted to wrap up, I guess, as our next step. If you do have questions, you want to email us directly. It's nancyk@InfoStrat.com or johnd@InfoStrat.com. And we really appreciate you taking the time this afternoon to hear a little bit more about the Microsoft Dynamics 365 project service automation. Have a great afternoon.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Okay. All right. Bye-bye.